Happy Valentine's Day. I'm finally getting these finished up. So, since your questions usually are of a romantic nature, I figured today would be a perfect day to do yours. And even if it is actually not about relationships, there's no harm in doing it today. Anyway, since we're approaching the new moon, they've already been shuffled. So, I'm going to cut them and get started. Okay. So, what covers you? So, what sums up your situation is you've been through this is about the middle of an emotional journey. You're not complete yet, but you have overcome some emotional upset, having been through a painful experience. It's sort of behind you now. You're ready to move on. You are ready to leave the pain behind you, stop dwelling on anything that doesn't serve you, but take with you everything you've gained, and look forward to starting a new chapter, but with that information to help you to have a different result this time. So you are ready to take what you've learned and move forward. You're excited and looking forward to different scenery and a different experience, but you're hopeful that with what you've learned that you'll have a better outcome this time. What crosses you? So something that affects that, for better or for worse, I would say this is definitely for better. You have a lot of positivity. You've got support and encouragement. So no negative Nancy's. And if there are, well, they're balanced out by these positive Pollys. So you've got people in your life who are cheering you on, who believe in you, and who kind of help mitigate some of that fear of heading into unknown territory. And, it is a little scary to leave behind what's familiar, but you do have people that are like, yeah, you can do it. It's okay. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And that helps keep you fueled and positive for, to have the courage to continue on, even though you're not sure what's in store for you. Also, if you look at this, I see here, this is where, the caterpillar is transforming into the butterfly sort of thing. And that goes well along with that whole new journey thing. You, through that painful experience that we were just discussing, it transformed you. And so while you didn't understand the purpose of it at that time and it felt like your life was over, doesn't the caterpillar feel like their life is over? They can't know what's going to happen when they wrap themselves up in that cocoon. For all they know, that's their coffin and that's where they go to die. Who could imagine that they would emerge from that feeling more free and more happy and transformed, even though they're the same, like you're the same person that you were before, but through that painful experience you have transformed into somebody who can accomplish so much more. So that's something to be celebrated. And you can't see your own wings, but there are the people around you, like I said, the people cheering you on that can see this change in you, who have noticed this transformation and who totally believe in your ability to fly. At the foundation of this issue, I hate saying issue because it makes it seem like it's a problem, but it's not, obviously. Sorry for the sniffles. At the foundation of the circumstances, I guess, I don't know what else to say other than issue, we have the Queen of Summer. So this all comes from a woman in your life who is not necessarily romantic, but I would so far tend toward that interpretation. But she has in some way inspired you to go ahead and take that leap, to move forward and believe in yourself. And she has seen something worthy in you. She admires and appreciates you. She makes you feel loved. She makes you remember what it's like to matter just because you exist, to not have to earn approval, to be good enough just as you are. And that is enough to spur you on to different shores. That reminder of your worth just because you're a human being, and to not have to struggle and prove yourself or to defend why you deserve love. That is what that reminder to you is what has prompted you to go and get in your boat and move elsewhere, because where you are isn't satisfying for that, or where you've been stuck after that emotional pain. You remember that as good as it could ever get, you don't have that affirmation, that unconditional acceptance, that love just for who you are, not for what you can do or for what you have. And this is a pure and selfless love. This is just seeing you as your lovable self, not with any ulterior motive. Now, I'm not saying that this is somebody that you'll end up with. However, that person seeing you in that light is inspiring for you to go out and to seek that for yourself. In your recent past, you have been a little undecisive, which I think reflects here. Ultimately, right now you are in a position where you have decided to load up the boat and move forward, so that's a good sign. But you had a hard time making that decision. You really stalled for a while because you thought about all the possibilities. Well, if I do this, then this might happen. It seemed very final to you. You hesitated to get in the boat, and I'm sorry I keep using that analogy, but I tend to do that with the pictures on the cards. But because you thought that kind of finalized it, and it cut off any of the other possibilities. It was a final saying goodbye and closing the door to some other things that you hadn't quite given up on yet. And it was really hard to choose one path finally and not leave any other options open. And so you did stall and you did delay and you did entertain several daydreams. But the good news is you didn't stay stuck there. You did choose a path and stick with it. But this indicates that you did have a few other options, and you did have some trouble deciding whether it was appropriate to move forward. But so far, that seems to be working for you. In your near future, I just throw the cards all over. So this would either be that you would encounter this aspect of yourself, or you would encounter an actual other person in your life that embodies these characteristics. So it is stability, Autumn. This is having to do with, like your material needs, your home, your family. This is the father figure of the family, like the provider, the giver of stability, not necessarily the nurturer. He nurtures, but in his own way. He nurtures by providing for your needs, and that's how he shows love. He shows love by making sure there's a roof over your head and clothes on your back and bread on the table. So while he may seem overly focused on what we might consider like the boring or the mundane things, understand that those things are every bit as necessary for our survival. And to provide those things is a loving gesture, even if this person isn't able to show love in the ways that we would traditionally feel it. Like her, of course, when she shows love, we feel it. She shows it in like an affectionate way. And it might take us a minute to understand that this is a showing of love, but that is how he is most comfortable demonstrating his care and affection, is by providing for your needs and making sure you don't go hungry or be cold. So if this is something that you encounter in yourself in the near future, then that means that you would start to embody the maturity of being able to put your family first, and the stability and needs being met and everything, having the maturity to say no to frivolous things that might take away from your stability, having the discipline to stick with something even when it gets boring. And if it isn't you, then you'll encounter somebody who inspires you to be that way, or who shows you how to have more balance and maturity when it comes to, like your home and your job, maybe even with your job, because this has to do with those things. So it could be that you will have a boss that really thinks that it's important to work hard and to do your job, and but on the flip side of that, they would recognize if you are a good worker, they would definitely appreciate that, because that means a lot to them, and you'd be compensated fairly for your extra effort. So all kinds of possibilities there. What crowns you, the best thing that you have going for you in this situation? We've got another woman. Seems always to be that way with you, Ted. But so this is somebody who is passionate. So she's very fiery and bright, and none of this has to be romantic. And even if you have romantic feelings towards any of these people, the gifts that they have to give you, or the way that they play into your situation, isn't necessarily in a romantic or in a relationship type of aspect. However, her passion is infectious. Her optimism lifts you up. Her excitement and belief in herself is really inspiring for you. Not only that, but because she's the queen, she has a mature handle on all of this energy. She might be busy. She might have a million things going at any given time, and she might just never stop or never sleep. And you might wonder how she does it all. But at the same time, she completes what she starts. She has the wisdom to know which projects are worth investing her time, and not to spread herself too thin and get burned out. While she is passionate, she knows how to direct the flow of her energy so she doesn't deplete herself or get irritable. So this is somebody you could possibly learn from, as well as be inspired by. This is somebody that just naturally lifts up everybody around her and inspires them to be their best. You know, like say you're sitting on the couch feeling lazy, and one of those exercise shows comes on or whatever, and like there's just like this bubbly host, and she's just like, oh yeah, you know, I love jogging, I love blah blah blah, and it just kind of makes you feel like yeah, I can do that too. It's not somebody who's trying to force you to do something, but just by being so excited about doing it makes you also feel excited like you can do it. So that's helping you again, and that goes in with this Three of Spring right here. That positive encouragement is really what's going to help keep you motivated to move forward in this big change of your life and this moving on and letting go process. And what you're moving toward is definitely a stable ground. So this is all good. You, in this situation, so while you did have many options, and you had a hard time making up your mind, and you did pick a path, but you do seem a bit torn. Even though you have committed to moving forward, you still have two options. So rather than the many, like this is like, you know, the number is irrelevant because it could be different per person, but this is like many options. But this is a core decision. This is one big choice. You have the option to do something which resonates with your heart, and you know in your heart would bring you satisfaction and fulfillment. And then for many different possibilities, you are also in a way being pulled in a different direction, not by your heart, maybe by your head, maybe by your logic, maybe by society, maybe by your friends or your family. Either way, there's another option that you're pressured to take that doesn't necessarily feel right for you, but you're still considering it, possibly because it's what society expects you to do, or it's because what somebody you care about wants you to do. Not necessarily what you want for yourself, or maybe what you've convinced yourself is the responsible thing to do. Maybe this person that you encounter may have you thinking, well, you need to make this choice because this is what's right for your family. This is what's responsible. But it doesn't feel right with you. You want to go in a different direction. You're called instinctively to something that feels like it would complete you and satisfy you on some emotional level that no material object ever could. And so you are struggling about that. Of course I can't make this decision for you, and this isn't to tell you what to do. But ultimately, the only one that has to live with the results of your decision is you. And so if you are feeling pressure to make a decision that doesn't feel right for you for any other reason other than that's what you want in your soul, don't do it. I suggest always honoring what your soul craves, needs, and pulls you to do. because none of the other people that might expect something of you will benefit from your success, nor will they suffer from your regret if you do something that goes against what you feel like you should. You don't have to explain yourself or defend yourself to anyone or justify your decision. If it feels right to you, do it. That's just my advice. That's not what the cards are saying. So just know that. The cards are just saying that decision is there for you. In your environment, as it pertains to this situation, there would be probably a daughter. This is a young girl, and she is somebody who's so loving, so innocent. The type of innocent that you kind of worry because you're like, man, boys might take advantage of her someday, because she's so trusting and she believes the best in everybody. But, so of course you would feel very protective of her. But at the same time, she inspires you and she opens your heart because she shows you a perspective that you may have long forgotten, that you might have not known since you were young. So you can vicariously feel that innocent beginner, everything is possible, I can do anything, idealism. And this person lifts your heart a lot. Also, like I said, in a way, especially probably as a father, because I'm feeling that this is like a daughter, it scares you a little because you want to protect them and you know that the world is harsh and they see it only as kind. And you know that people have bad intentions when she thinks everybody is good. And somehow this plays into your decision. Whether it be good or bad, or maybe a little bit of both, as life often is. But this is somebody that really they're on your mind, whether it's because they believe you can do it even if the chances are pretty slim, or they think that you're like a superhero even though you know that that's probably not the case, or they believe you can do no wrong even though you know that of course you can. Maybe it's that them seeing the very best in you that makes you want to not let them down. Or it could be, maybe this decision that you have right here. Yeah, you do want to follow your heart, but maybe that might risk this innocent soul enduring something that you're afraid that might damage her or tarnish her innocence or be a struggle for her sweet little self. So anyway, you would know. I don't, but I don't need to. Your hopes or fears as it pertains to this situation is the Empress. So you want to be, and this is like the lower echo here of the Emperor. You want to be the provider. You want to be the emperor of the family, or but in order to provide just that, just the discipline and just the practical things and just the material needs to go to work, say 12 hours, just so that you can provide a nice home and nice clothing, you need the energy balanced out by an Empress. You need to have that nurturer there too. And while you're focusing all this, like I said, this guy, he's not the nurturer. He shows love in a way of providing things. She balances that out by showing love. And yes, she provides the things as well, but she nurtures, she cares for, she tends to. And without that, it can throw off the balance of energy. And you feel like you can't really be all this way without this being present, and it's too much for you to try to do it all by yourself. Either you feel like either you be the nurturer, the sensitive, the caretaker, and then not so much all the provider or the disciplinarian or the, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You would like to have there be more balance, whether that be by an actual person who plays the role of the Empress, or by being able to also embody some of the nurturing characteristics that the Emperor doesn't have. And that is a tall order, and it is a lot for one person to take on, but that is your hope. And maybe, with this guy that's like, oh, blah, 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 be responsible, da, da, da. And this decision you have right here, okay, but if I do have to do this, for example, maybe this guy's like, oh, yeah, here's this job working 7,000 hours a week, and this is the responsible thing to do so you can take care of your family. And then you're torn, and you're like, okay, but my heart wants to be with my family. But this guy is saying that if I if I was responsible, I would take the 7,000 hour a week job. And then, you're thinking, oh, your daughter, well, if I'm gone all the time, if I can't connect with her, how will that impact her? Because she's so sweet. And then what's going to happen if I'm not around to protect her? And then you're like, dang, I really want to be able to be nurturing, because you can't be nurturing from a distance. Nurturing involves involvement and participation. And if you do this, then you have to give up this. And so, and this is just my interpretation here, but even if I'm off, hopefully that example can help you find the actual situation there in your mind. The final card, so the possible outcome if you continue on your current path, is a new beginning where anything is possible. And so you kind of be right along with her there with the innocence and the inexperience, but inexperience in a good way. Because you're not experienced here, you haven't already decided ahead of time whether or not it's going to work. You don't already have your mind made up about what's possible and what's not. So you're going into this with a fresh slate, any possibility, not having any kind of preconceived notions about what you're capable of. So the sky's the limit. And this is something that would be emotionally satisfying. So you're going to start something that will create that emotional satisfaction. Maybe it's going to allow you to play this role of nurturer and to connect with her, but also do the responsible emperor thing. I don't know what that might be. Maybe you don't know yet either, but it is something that's coming up for you, a new possibility. Maybe it's a hobby that you can enjoy with your kids, or maybe I don't get the sense that it is a job, like a change of job. Maybe the job part has to be, but maybe you can temper that with something else that makes you feel happy. This is just happiness. This is love and happiness, not things, not passion, not romance, just happiness in whatever form it may come. And because of the other cards in your reading, I feel like that does have to do with, work-life balance or, family. This card, this reading, while there are some queens in here, it does not have a romantic slant. There are women that are kind of more on the foreground or the fringes of this issue, but your true concern is actual genuine happiness. And that happiness comes to you from a variety of different places. Satisfaction with your work and being a provider, but also satisfaction with nurturing for your family and caring for and protecting your children. And so because of that, yes, while there are women involved in your life, they're not at the forefront of this issue. It's just one aspect. Your main concern is moving on, having picked a path, having chosen to move forward and not knowing what's to come yet, having some different influences here that both motivate, inspire, encourage you, and maybe that have some advice. And having a big decision weighing on your heart and wanting to be able to be both the provider and the nurturer, or to have your family taken care of in a way that will be emotionally satisfying for all of you. And the good news is that you will start something new. Something new is waiting for you over here on the shore that will bring you to the beginnings of something that is ultimately going to provide true joy, contentment, and happiness. So this may possibly be, I don't know, I don't even want to guess, because that's just my conscious mind. I would hope that this makes sense to you. If you need any clarification, I'd be happy to do some clarifiers for you. But that's all I really have to say for right now. We're going on 25 minutes and I'm just running my mouth. So have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye-bye.